What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 68 of the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast. It's cool to start knocking these episodes out again, and it's always fun to be behind the mic, and I'm super excited for this episode. It's an episode that has been a long time coming. Me and my guest here have talked about it about 1,000 times and finally put it together. But Victor Guarisco, what's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? Good to be here.
I appreciate your time coming on and everything. We've talked about this a million times. It seems like we finally put it together.
And you know what the funniest part of it is? We live in the same county in the state of Indiana.
Right. You live probably less than 10 minutes from me, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm 15 minutes to your neck of the woods.
Yes, sir. Well, Victor, for somebody that doesn't know you, introduce yourself a little bit.
Well, I'll keep it simple. My name is Victor Guarisco. I grew up in the great state, the Mitten State of Michigan, and I spent all of my formidable years in deep snow and lots of deer hunting, and that's what I grew up doing in the state of Michigan. I moved out of Michigan for work. And that was the only reason. And I haven't been back since I did move back one time, but I haven't been back to live there since 2000. No, it was 1999 was the last time I lived in Michigan. So Maine for 7 years and Indiana since 2006. And growing up in Michigan, you can't get out of the state in the south part without going through Indiana or maybe Ohio. And I was going through Indiana, and I never thought I would ever live in the long, boring state of Indiana. And where am I at? Right smack dab in the middle of the state. So,
right.
You know, I love Indiana. I really do. So
I do too. We've gotten a lot more attention in the last few years for obvious reasons. A couple of big deer have been killed here in Indiana, but I think prior to that, I honestly think we were a sleeper state. I still think we are. You know, you see some of the right, oh yeah, I tried not to blow that up out of proportion. You see all these big lists of top 10 states and all that stuff. I honestly don't understand how we haven't popped up on there, but I'm not complaining. Not complaining at all.
No, I mean, for me, I kicked it right into gear. When I moved here in 2006, I was connected to people that had some great properties. So I was very blessed and fortunate and was able to be around some of the deer I was seeing in 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009 were just blowing my mind. I mean, I saw my very first Boone and Crockett deer live on the hoof from the tree stand right here in the state of Indiana. And, I mean, we say it's a hidden gem, and we don't know why it's blown up, and we hush when people talk about Indiana being a sleeper state, and we want it to stay that way. But I mean, honestly, we're right next to Ohio, which is a great state. I mean, we are 20 minutes, and I'm in Ohio, in Illinois, Kentucky. I mean, the river divides us, but I mean, they've all got great deer. It's about deer management. It's what it's all about. Michigan, hopefully we'll get there one day. Michigan will hopefully get there. I don't know. It's been a minute, but as long as they have $2, ain't going to happen.
Yeah, I was kind of going to fall on that same thing, but I've seen some stuff on social media here recently. Some people have shared from Michigan. I think they're maybe trying to get that put in motion. I think it's what it looks like.
They're trying. They're really trying, and it seems like they're trying harder and harder now, but I mean, the stats that I saw, I don't remember who put them out. I believe it was somebody independent of the DNR, but they put out stats I read earlier in the fall about when Indiana started the $1 rule back in the 90s, I believe. And every year, especially at those decades, it got better and better as far as higher. I mean, the documented number of Boone and Crockett deer that were killed just it skyrocketed, especially after year 10. Guys just got picky, I mean, I have a rule that if I get super excited, and there's, a lot of emotion involved, I'm probably gonna, that deer's going on my wall and in my freezer.
For sure.
But, to have the opportunity to be in a state that, you can actually do that. And Michigan I mean, I still have a lot of family back there, and our mutual friends, the boys from Mid-State Outdoors, I just hung out with Zach and Jake. Well, there's like 20 Zachs and 20 Jakes.
Right.
You got to be a Jake or a Zach to be a part of Mid-State Outdoors somehow. I think you have to do like a name change, but they were just down here in Indiana over the weekend. It was rough. It's muzzleloader season.
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, but like that, we had that conversation. When Michigan does that, you boys are going to be in the chips.
No,
It may
for sure.
take 10 years, but you're going to be there. So,
You
guys,
know,
just,
now that we're talking about, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're right.
Now what we're kind of talking about Indiana, I've talked about it on the past 2 podcasts because I've had Indiana guests on with me. Is there anything that you think Indiana could do on any sort of level for the DNR that would benefit them, or in your mind benefit you maybe?
That's a good question. And this is just my opinion. I'm not a biologist. I'm just a deer hunter.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I think that I kind of envy are these states like Illinois, and I know they're not perfect either. I think our DNR does a decent job, better than some other states that I've been in the past. But I would love to see our firearm season kind of be like that weekend deal that Ohio and Illinois do. I think that would just make us. We're already great, but I think that would just make us even better. We've dealt with a lot of. I like to kill does, and we've dealt with. I mean, counties that I hunted when I first moved here. I won't name those counties, but some counties that I moved when I moved here in 2006, you could kill 4 or 5 doe.
Yeah.
And I think even the highest county had like 6 doe limit for your doe kill, and for a lot of reasons, CWD or whatever, EHD, whatever's going around in the deer world that's wiping them out. And one of the counties that I primarily hunted in for the last 10 years, you couldn't even kill a doe in it this year.
Yeah.
Last year it was so bad. I mean, they were people that were fine. They found more dead deer per square mile than they could. I mean, their minds were blown. So that was sad. And I think, 0 does tells you that, they got to get back control of the deer population. But I mean, I think if we could do something like that, where we would, and I don't know that would happen, but if we could change our gun season and not be always right in the middle of the rut, and make it like a weekend, and then in a month another weekend, and that's it. But they just wouldn't take the numbers of deer because they want those numbers to go down. So I mean, that would be my dream wish if I had a wish list of things that the Indiana DNR would do. That would be it, I guess. Other than that, I mean, I think it's great. As long as they keep the youth season out in front of the adult season, I'm going to be a happy camper.
Absolutely. So, how did you like the gun season a week later than it had been in years past this year?
See, I like that. I mean, obviously the rut falls pretty strong right in there, and the weather was pretty decent. That opening weekend here, oh my goodness. I primarily, now that I'm retired from law enforcement and I'm in creeping up on my 2nd year of retirement and full time, just doing production stuff, primarily filming weddings. That's where I make the bulk of my living as a retired man. My weekends in September, October, and most of November are shot, but I have the weekdays. Man, that opening weekend, I was just looking at my trail cameras the whole time I was filming the wedding. And my Antone's out hunting, and I'm just checking in with him. And I mean, it was just like, the rut, the weather, everything was just like it was a great opening weekend. So
I felt like it gave a chance for some of those big mature bucks to breed and kind of do their thing before the Orange Army really hit strong, which I was a huge fan of. I mean, and I laugh about it, like the last show I did with Jake Collette from Blue Collar Whitetails. I was laughing because the day I killed mine would have been normally our opening day of gun. But me, I'd rather have a bow out there than a gun, so I like it.
Yeah, that was a good little slice of time right there. I mean, I'll talk more about it later, but I mean, like we as a family, like and I've just been editing this short film for these film festivals. And today was, I was just timing it down, and I was in all of our footage, and it just reminded me again of how awesome October was good for the bow, but how awesome, like it was like the 2nd or 3rd of November, all the way until Antone killed on the 19th was absolutely just on fire.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it was happening. Got a few warm days in there that kind of, nocturnalized a few of those days. But I mean, just like the sheer amount of just 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds that we were seeing on their feet, especially like that 9th, 10th, and 11th, it was
Yeah, well,
phenomenal. It was phenomenal. So
yeah, I used intel from cameras and previous hunts. We had a saying, me and Adam had a saying this year, that a buck will do the same thing twice, but he'll never do it 3 times.
yeah,
And we capitalized on that big time, which was able for me to produce what I did and shoot my deer on the 11th. We seen him do the exact same thing the day prior, made a move, and it paid out big time.
yep. That's just, I mean, it's just it. And I love the strategizing in the game. I spend so much time behind the camera, and I have for the last 10 to 12 years, that this was the second year in a row that I've actually, these last 2 years, I've spent a lot more time. I'm hunting more locally. I very rarely, in the last 17 years or so that I've lived in Indiana, I've very rarely hunted this county that we live in. And I've solely hunted just this county this year and most of last year, other than my trips down to Triple O, just to try to kill a doe and just to do some content for Triple O, which was the main reason I was down there. But just to go hunt somewhere else, I mean, like I'm satisfied with where what county we live in. And
Yeah.
If you know us, you know what county we live in. If you don't, I mean, the price is right. I'll talk to you, man.
I didn't kill a doe, or not a doe. I didn't kill a buck in this county until 2021. But I hadn't hunted that county until 2021. I primarily hunt Hancock County. I'll go ahead and throw a name out there. It's becoming one of the biggest, baddest counties, and I've known it for a long time. One of the properties that I hunt has been one of those properties for a long time, and I think people are starting to really finally see that county produce with the Robbie Rowland buck this year and everything like that. It's kind of blowing up.
And we both know Tim. Tim's just a great guy.
For
Robbie's
sure.
Robbie's father-in-law.
Yep.
And like, I mean, that's not like they legit.
Oh yeah.
If he's part of the Conley clan, they legit work for their deer. They don't just, I mean, it is that will probably be the Indiana record for a little bit, I would say. What a giant! Right there in that county that you want to name, but I don't hunt it, so I haven't killed a deer in our. I've killed no, I have not killed a deer in our county, so that's a goal of mine this year. So all of mine have been a couple of counties south of us or so, and but I haven't killed a deer in my home county yet, but I have really honestly just truly started hunting it the last 2 years. So it will happen. And I think it'll happen this year, to be honest with you. So
I hope so, buddy. That'd be really cool to see. A question I normally start with, and I haven't asked it for a while, but how did you get started in the outdoors?
Well, so I'm an old man now. When we get done with this podcast, I have to go back to the nursing home. So, but we not that old, but we like in Michigan, and like your family, when your families hunt, you hunt, and absolutely. I mean, it's just part of life, and you don't know anything any different. So, I grew up with my dad's side of the family. My dad was a big hunter, really big recurve hunter, and then my mom's side of her family, they were all just diehard hunters as well. So it's like I got the double take. I mean, like some of my cousins and stuff, a couple of them, I got a little of the bite. I got it from both sides of the faucet, and like I just have loved hunting. But in Michigan, back when I was growing up, you couldn't hunt by yourself until you were 12 years old, and you had to have hunter safety. So I can remember my dad taking me out to the woods, sitting on one of his properties with him while he was shotgun hunting. And we hunted from the ground. And I lived in southern Michigan. We couldn't rifle hunt. The northern half of the state, you could. The southern half was more populated. You couldn't. And so that excitement started for me young I can remember, getting the first, like a North American whitetail magazine, and
Oh,
like, like these big bucks, and reading some articles and that growth, because we didn't have social media. I mean, this was back in the day. Let's get right to it, where we still had a phone in my house that had a cord connected to it. So, that's how
wow.
old I am. And, we didn't have, videos and stuff. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I got my first monster buck video, and my first Primos videos, and my first Drury videos, and they were all on VHS tapes. And let me tell you, I wore those tapes out.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's really for me when that just as I got into my 20s, because you grow up just shotgun hunting, it's kind of the same. You got to get them close. It's not how far, it's how close you get them. And then to me, the next step was my dad was a bow hunter, but I remember I got my first bow and I was in my 20s. I was probably 23 or so.
Mhm.
And I got my first bow. My dad was so into the recurve world. That's how he hunted. He couldn't even help me because he was so instinctive. He was like, sights, put it on there. I didn't know how to, and I got so frustrated with it that the pro shop they had me set up wrong. They just didn't know what they were doing. I
Mhm.
mean, they just weren't the pro shops around like they are today. And I moved out to Maine, and I found this pro shop within 6 months of my arrival. And I stopped in and I saw my first Matthews MQ32. Now,
Nice.
up to that point, I had been hunting for 3 years with a bow. I had missed probably 3 or 4 deer. I still lived in Michigan. I had just didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Today, I would have told myself back then, do not go into the woods and hunt because you suck. And I wanted to just quit on it because I didn't know how to do it.
Hmm.
And I did shoot a doe when I was in Michigan, and that was my first deer. And then the next year I moved to Maine, and I was like, I've met this guy out there, and it was just like he introduced me to carbon arrows. They had just come out, the Matthews MQ32, and then all of a sudden, boom, you start killing deer with your bow. You could shoot 3 deer when I lived in Maine. You could shoot 3 deer, and I was for years in a row, like many years, I was filled all 3 of my tags. I hunted on the coast, so I had, I was really urban hunting,
Hmm.
and shoot my buck, shoot 2 doe, shoot my buck, shoot 2 doe every year. It was just happening, and it started the fire in me, and that was it, man. I just love bow hunting. I'm addicted to bow hunting so much.
Oh,
Have no, I
absolutely.
mean, I haven't even killed a deer with a muzzleloader yet. Got a muzzleloader, going to try to do that this year, but that's really for me that young age was 12. I mean, my kids, my older kids, all of my kids now, all 5 of my kids, they've killed, like my youngest son or my oldest son shot his first shot of turkey before I did in Maine, and he was 10.
That's
And
awesome.
now my younger kids, they shot their first turkeys in Indiana. One was 6 and one was 7.
That is
And I'm
awesome.
like, that's him. Start them young, and that bug gets into them. So I'm kind of living my younger days now through all of my kids. So
I see that, and
yeah,
I love the content that comes from it with
yeah.
Piper and
Oh my
her even
goodness.
filming you, and then her
Yeah.
video and everything. It's really cool to see you and your kids hunting, man.
Yeah, because I've got like my two older kids, they kind of live away and they're busy and they don't hunt that
Hmm.
much anymore at all. One of them, and then Anton came back. He graduated from high school and he came back around a couple years ago, and then last year was a big year for us together. So he's kind of come back and hunting, and then it was like there was a trio right now the last 2 years. It's we get Piper a deer or a turkey, and then we're ready to go. And we always say, like when she's got her deer or turkey, all right, now my season's over, but then we still continue to chase it. So 2 years in a row, both of them, Piper and Antone, have filled their tags, and then like that's a new thing for us with Piper now. She doesn't want to get out of the woods, so we just said, "Oh, you want to film us?" So now she's filmed Antone once or twice, and she's filmed me a lot. So we got a little routine. I pick her up after school. We one of the properties we hunt. It's only a mile from our house, and then we're right in the blind. And I have missed a deer this year, so there's no excuse. She did film me miss a good buck. I don't remember, mid-November. I want to say it was probably the 20s, somewhere 21, 22, somewhere in there, and I missed a good buck. I'll I don't really want to talk about it, but
it's okay.
yeah. It was great. It was just like, you know, I mean, she's running the camera great. She did a wonderful job, and I'm ranging this deer coming in, and I'm in a blind 5 feet off the ground, and he was getting closer, and I had to lay down, kind of lean down in the seat and draw my bow because I didn't want to draw right up in the front of the bow in the blind, and I didn't realize it until I got back because I was just dumbfounded as how I missed this deer at 30 yards. And when I went down, and he had stopped, and when I went down to draw, I didn't realize it until I watched the video back. He walked 3 or 4 more steps closer to me, and I came up, and in my sight picture, I was just so focused. I put that 30-yard pin right behind the shoulder, and I let her fly, and went right over the top of his back. And I was like, what in the world? And I ranged kind of where I thought he was at, and it said 19 yards. And then I went back and looked at the video, and I was like, oh, he walked 3 steps closer. Oh my goodness. That was dummy me, you know. So
I know how it feels, buddy.
What do you do?
You know, this year, it's been a while. You know, obviously, you know, if you don't miss, you're not hunting enough. You know what I mean, kind of sort of thing. It's part of bow hunting. It hasn't happened to me in a really long time, and I really didn't want it to happen on a 170-inch deer. But I didn't miss. I just missed my mark, and it cost me big time.
Yeah, and you think about that and dream about that, and it's nightmares. And but you just get back in the saddle like you've done. And I mean, I haven't shot a deer, and this will be my 4th year if I end this season without a deer. And I've filmed a lot of deer get killed and a lot of turkeys, but I seem to have no problems filling my turkey tags. But the deer tags, I've spent, you know, but I'm spending the odds back in my favor, and I'm spending a lot more time. Once my kids get their deer down, I'm pretty hyper focused. And our last deer went down the 19th of November, and I've been going strong since then. And you know, I had that opportunity. It wasn't a 170, but it still keeps me up sometimes. It wakes me up and and startles me. But I'd say it's probably 125 to 128, somewhere in there. He was a good one, and my daughter she got the footage just right. So sometimes I wish I wouldn't have taught her how to run the camera so well, but she did it, and it's all there. It'll show up in an episode one day. But
well, that brings me to my next question. What got you started in filming in the outdoors?
Yeah, you know, I've always been into just like photography and video. Kind of like I tell the story this way. Like when I was in my teens, technology then was our parents bought these consumer cameras, and it started off with VHS tapes in them. So you know how big the cameras are, pretty big then. Oh, yeah. When it downgraded down into my younger adult years to the like 8mm, it was like, oh man, I could be like, you know, the Realtree guys or the Primos guys, or you know, the Drurys, man, they got cameras in there. I could bring it to the tree. Nobody was making camera arms. The first animal that I filmed, I was literally taking that camera to the stand just to document for myself, and I was sitting it on the seat. I would stand up, and I would try to, hopefully it was getting in, hopefully it was in there, and I shot this doe, and I didn't realize that all you could see was her. And then I looked at the video, and all you could see was her feet walking in. I shot her, and it was great doe. And I was like, well, okay, that's going to take a lot of work. When I was in Maine, I got with the guy I had referred to before, Jim Favreau. He had a shop up there. I don't even know if he still does or not, up in Pittston, Maine. And his shop was like a gas station. This is New England for you. It was a gas station, you know, kind of like a little mini supermarket, and then an archery pro shop with lanes to shoot in and everything like that. I mean, and he had it all. And he came up to me one day and he goes, man, you really like these hunting videos, don't you? And I said, I sure do. And he goes, I want you to watch some of my stuff. And I was like, your stuff? And so he sent me home with a bunch of tapes to watch. And he had a show on like the local cable TV there in central Maine. And I was like, man, bro, this is pretty cool. He goes, I want to start a show, and I want to make some DVDs. Well, we were the first couple of years, we actually made VHS tapes. I keep aging myself with the technology. But then we trucked him into the year I left it. I moved out of there in 05, 06, and like in 04, I can remember the conversation we had with Jim to like switch over to DVDs. And we were an all Maine team, and that was really where I saw videoing your hunts organized and with an actual product and and that bug right there, just ate me, where I was like, okay, this is for real. I mean, we were, getting partnerships with, Matthews and some lighted Knox and broadheads. And, it was like, but we loved hunting and filming, and these guys were serious about it. We had 10 of us on the team. And when I moved, I bought one of their cameras, a Canon XL1S, which was a little mini DV tapes. And back then that was some high-end technology. That's, those were, like consumer, like in between consumer and prosumer video camera. And it was great. And I ran that filming my younger kids, and I played around with it here and there. And I just kept cataloging footage, cataloging hunts, and just getting better at it. I have a degree in filming and editing. I haven't gotten the paperwork yet, and I don't know that they're going to ever do it, but it's called the School of YouTube. And
right.
if I didn't know how to do something, I was just like, okay, well, how do you run this on your camera? And as I changed cameras and stuff, and then finally eventually bought a camera that just, right to, little, cards and SD cards and such. I just, was just cataloging it. In 2017, I was talking to some fellows. I actually, like 2014, 2012, I was getting more serious about it. And some of the guys that I was in law enforcement, and a lot of the guys I was filming were cops. And I started this little thing, and I just started calling it 5-0 Media. And that, and some connections that I had through being on staff with Fourth Arrow, which is now Fourth Arrow, and Winsent, and Final Rest, and Three Thrasher, and some other things that are going on with that entrepreneurial company there. They they kind of like started spurring me on and pushing me to bigger and better things. They saw, I guess, some raw talent there, and that's just kind of like, I thought it was going to be something with 5-0 Media, but that's what I produce under now. And talking to a couple of guys from a county, a couple of counties south of me, I said, I'm going to start something. They were asking me questions about video cameras. I said, I'm just going to start something, man. And I said, I'm tired of my footage just sitting idle, and I'm learning how to edit. If you guys want to be a part of it, let's do it. And we kicked off, this was like in 2017. And in 2018, we kicked off Crimson Trail. And
I got the
so
hat on.
You got it. I see it. Got mine on. And it's just kind of like come from there. I mean, like when you produce stuff, it started just filming myself and filming my kids for our own pleasure. Then, when you can actually get it out there where you actually have an audience, we're eating up with it. And especially the crew that, we surround ourselves with. And then I'm not on an island. I love collaboration. And so, how you've been on some hunts with me now this spring, and others. I love collaborating with other crews, and I always have. And, like if we're like-minded, like, man, I don't have a corner market on this. I'm still learning from the School of YouTube. So, and edit. And that passion led to me being able to start a business, with it. I now make a living as a retired man from my previous career filming. So I have a lot of camera gear. I mean, all these boxes, and
I guarantee you do.
I mean, but as I tell guys, keep it simple, because I think that what we do with this, here's my rabbit trail. You started this now. Here's my rabbit trail. So I think what we do is we always think we got to have the latest and greatest, and everybody's like, what camera do you have? And I'm like, what? Run the wheels off of whatever you have. I get that question a lot, like, what do you use? And don't use what I use. Some of the cameras that I have, I wouldn't have if I didn't have a business.
Right.
And there's some cameras that I have. I had bought the FX6, the Sony FX6 cinema camera. I was never intention with, and I have insurance on my gear. That wasn't going to the woods, because I've dropped cameras from my tree stand before. And it is, I'm not gonna do that. So my son, I'm editing some of his. This was his best self-filming year that he's ever had right here. He filmed 90% of his footage with his iPhone 12.
That's awesome.
Just teach him how to do it. I mean, like, you can be cinematic with it. there's some draw setbacks with it, and the GoPros and the Insta 360s and then whatever DJI has for. I mean, you know, like I don't film and edit a show using a Tacticam. Nothing against Tacticam,
Right.
but those point of view cameras have a place, but it's not your A camera.
Absolutely.
And just keep it simple. I don't sell film, but he did that, and I mean, this is it's going to be my entry into these film festivals that I was talking to you about prior to the show.
Yeah.
And I'm finishing up right now. Badlands is due on the Sunday, and then Full Draw Film Tour is due in February. So it should hopefully get something there. Hopefully, I'm praying. But either way, that's another thing for me, trying to enter into these film festivals. That's what challenges me to grow and to get better at storytelling.
And you hold yourself at a certain level of what you want to produce and ultimately put out. Which when you were talking about, you know, the GoPros and the Tacticams and all that stuff is great. If you have like this year, I have a very small team. I've tried to grow several times and it never really works out for me. So I'm keeping it simple with you know. I call them the homeboys, you know. We're a tight-knit group of guys, and Adam shot his buck this year. He couldn't get the big camera on it, but he had his GoPro rolling facing away from him, and that's how he caught that version, or you know, that clip on his video. And I said, dude, I am so glad you had that GoPro rolling, and it happened so quick and everything. But I'm kind of the same way, obviously not even close to what you are putting out with everything that you got going on. But when I put videos together, I try to hold myself as accountable on a high level as I possibly can with what I have.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. I learn from other people, and I grow from other people. I think sometimes in the hunting industry, then it's going through some weird changes right now. And you know, like, you know, I mean, who watches Pursuit, Outdoor, or Sportsman's? Nothing against those venues, but like this generation coming up is, I think about Bill Winke when he owned Midwest Whitetail. I was thinking about this in like 2011 and 12, and I tried to get on the show as part of the Indiana team. I got denied. You know, no, you need to do a little more studying. I didn't take that denial as a man, and I just licked my wounds, and I just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I wanted to do this, and I wanted to be. I love to edit. I love to tell stories. So, you know, I can't ever afford or have the time to go to these film schools that are put on out there. So I just dug into YouTube and I did specific searches, and I learned how to edit, and I learned how to, you know, and I feel like this, if you edit, you film better.
Oh,
so
for sure.
I always tell guys, if you edit, you film better, because you're like, you know, I don't really like necessarily editing other people's footage. I mean, unless they know what they're doing or have a decent idea. Because it's a lot more work trying to make that look better. But you know, I still mess up. I mean, I've hit my daughter's hunt this year. I got so excited, but I was trying to take an ND filter off the front because it was screwing up, and then she's got her buck coming in, and he got to like 30 yards, and I just got that ND filter off, and I always tell people this: don't double punch that record button. You know, that's a rookie mistake, and I make comments like that. The old man and I went to look back because the little buck kind of came up, and then he looked into the food plot and nothing was there, and he turned around and went back down into the woods. And I was like, oh, I want to see this footage. And I went back and there was nothing there because I had turned that record button on and off so many times and all that excitement. So, I mean, even in all the years that I've been filming, I still get excited and I still screw things up. But you know what? I don't make a living off of this hunting stuff.
Absolutely.
That's what I tell my team. And, you know, and I had a conversation with an individual yesterday from the industry that was trying to be a part of something. Hey, you know, do you know these people? And I looked at it and I'm like, listen, they're promising you that you're going to make all this money if you're a part of their team and everything like that. I'm like, man, I've been in the industry, you know, just connected and all these years, just being a passionate person. And I'm like, I mean, if you're making money in the outdoor industry, you know, you have a product, you're an outfitter, or, you know, you are just, you're out there. Most of the money, it seems like, that these shows that have to pay, you know, to be on these network television shows for hunting, they have to pay, and that's totally backwards anyways than network television.
Right.
You know, where, you know, they raise their funds through commercials, and then, you know, you get paid to actually have a show on, you know, you get
Right.
some money, and, you know, we pay for that commercial time in the outdoor industry. And so now it's just, I mean, I don't know any way to say this, but I'll just say it like it is. Now it's just rich people, guys who got deep pockets. Nothing against you if you do,
Right.
but it's the guys that got the deep pockets. And then, you know, because, you know, sponsored shows are, you know, a lot of companies just don't want to throw that kind of money now to be on, to get that kind of coverage when they can get just as much or even better sometimes through streaming media. We're on Carbon TV. Now there's other options out there, you know, to stream. There's YouTube. YouTube's kind of becoming more popular again. And then, you know, there's Waypoint, which you got to pay to be on. They've kind of got that same model. You got to pay.
I've went through that whole Waypoint thing with this podcast. The guy that runs it got a hold of me. We set up a meeting. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm a pretty cut dry kind of guy. He said that I needed to pay, I think it was $600 or $700 a year to be on that. And I said, buddy, nothing against what you have going on here. This is all fun for me. I'm not getting more people to listen to this. Obviously I want more people to listen to it. That's why, you know, that's anything, YouTube, podcast, you want more people to pay attention to your stuff, but I'm not going to pay for that. I want it to be an organic thing. I ran into a guy, my cousin actually does like streaming video game stuff, and he was talking about bow hunting, got brought up somewhere, and the guy said, I listened to a podcast called Blue River Bow Hunting. My cousin said, well, that's my cousin, you know. It was just a small world. The guy was from Louisiana, out of all places, you know. People, you know, just probably searched bow hunting on podcasts and found me that way, and that's how I like it.
And you know, and I'm the same the way, and the producers that I've organically, you know, as I've organically grown, it's just through friendships that I've met in the industry. You know, like I look at my team, John Reese is probably the longest standing person that I've known on my team. And he and I met through being a part of Fourth Arrow's pro staff and going to ATA with them and challenging us. I can remember how they first challenged me. Side note was Rob Winalda, the owner of Fourth Arrow. He came to me at one of the ATA shows, and he's like, I got this idea. And he goes, I want to do this little commercial for our wind scent unit because we've got this new scent. It's called Donut Shop for bears. And you bear hunt. And he goes, and you're in law enforcement. We just didn't want to be offensive and do something. We wanted to do something with law enforcement and cops and donuts, and then this new scent. And we didn't want to know, would cops be offended by that? And I'm like, no. And if they are, then they shouldn't be cops, because we'd love that, you know? So the wheels started turning. Here we go. Like, how can I promote this? How can I market this? And you can still dig it up. It's out there, and we got a lot of traction with them. I would say this is probably 2016 or 17 in there. And I made this little video with some guys that I'd worked with on this task force here locally. We threw donuts in there, and we had a great Jack's Donuts, by the way.
That's
and
awesome.
They got some free advertisement, and we threw that in there and made it, and they just loved it. And that was, to me, like the dive. That was me jumping off the diving board into an area that I just felt so uncomfortable. Like, man, I don't think I can do this. And just being creative and thinking creative from a marketing standpoint. But yeah, like for me, I am all about free. You know, and John and I got to know each other through that. And then he came along, you know, and jumped on Crimson Trail. And we don't, you know, we've moved around, but I've got like this, I surrounded myself with people who are passionate about the same things that I am. And that's how I grow. And I work with other, you know, one of my good friends that I met at the ATA at the Fourth Arrow booth, probably 2016, Nick McWhorter from Kentucky. I mean, we met at the ATA, and in June, he was on a bear hunt with me up in Canada with his dad. And he had a YouTube show called Empty Quiver. We filmed, he came here and filmed a waterfowl hunt in Indiana. And we filmed together and brought him, and just that camaraderie. That's always just been a part of who I am with this. Not hiding my little secret, you know, over here of what we do. It's just like, hey, how do you do that? Oh, that's how you fly your drone like that. Oh, okay. He doesn't, you know, like You know, I think he did his bear hunt. I gave him all of my lapses because I've always been passionate about solar lapses, and then you know he didn't know how to do that. He watched me do that, and then he had some amazing drone footage that I didn't have, and we shared that with each other and bumped each other up. You know, and same thing that we just did this spring, which we'll talk about later. But I
Oh, I
mean, with
love it.
with the boys in Michigan, I mean, we had, but I've got like so with Crimson Trail, it's me and then John is he edits his stuff and he edits under Foxtail Media. I'm 50 Media, and then one of our ambassadors from Nexus that we've known over the years now, Brian Wenzel. He comes on board with us last spring, and we give him, you know, he's a Marine, so we say you come up with something because you know how to edit, and you know you're coming along well, and you know how to film, and so he's 1775 Media, and then just through this, you know, ambassador program that we'll talk about later that we're all part of. Um, you know, I meet Ron Howard and introduce Ron to Chris Labarge from Canada, and then they had something going, and now they've joined us. So we've dumped them on board with us, and Chris does all the editing, and we're working with him. He's going to come up with. So I got 4 people who edit. We have, you know, similar styles, but you know, like Crimson Trail isn't just me editing. It's, you know, it's 4 of us, and we have, you know, some continuity to the show. We try to make as much continuity as we can, but there's actually 4 people editing and growing in their skill sets and using this. You know, I know John does a lot of marketing for his business that he was self-employed with his painting business, and now he's working for, you know, he's working with his brother-in-law and in a collision business, and he's doing marketing and stuff for them because of skills that he learned from just this right here. And you know, I'm fortunate because, you know, I'm filming and editing all the time with my weddings and with other commercials and things that I do. So that's really helped me to grow. But one thing I've learned about this, and then I'll shut up about it, is nobody ever arrives in this. If I ever hear somebody act like it or think that they've arrived in the editing or creative business, I always just kind of steer clear of them because you never stop learning or growing. You never, ever. There's always something new to learn. There's always something creative to go about, and you know, whatever it is. And so having those 4 guys around me, and you know that, you know, Jake Stevens and Zach Sloan, we were talking about that the whole time. And Chris Lavarge, we were talking about editing and filming and everything when we were turkey hunting in Michigan this past spring.
Yep.
And when they were down here with us, I mean, it's just like we're always growing. Oh yeah, I like how you do that. Oh man, how'd you do this? We're sharing. It's called collaboration. And I feel like, you know, that in other industries that I've worked in, the wedding world and stuff, they can kind of be to themselves a little bit as, you know, companies. But I feel like in the hunting world that we see that in pockets, but I really promote a lot of, you know, let's collaborate. There's not everybody that we can collaborate with. You collaborate with people who are close to, or, you know, not so far away from you that, you know, you're not going to be attaining their skills for a while, but that's how we grow. And I just feel like we need more of that in the hunting industry. Carbon TV is free. That's why I went with them. I went exclusive with Carbon TV in 2019. And that was just an amazing, that family of Carbon TV is just absolutely amazing. And being exclusive with them, I have no shame, you know, and no, I understand that not everybody can get on Carbon TV. And I like it that they have some pretty high standards and that they're getting even more standards. But like for me, you know, free is free. Yeah. And you know, and so I don't make any money off of this. My partners, we don't make money off of this. I didn't get swag until this past year.
Right.
we were using a cricket of one of our family members and making some stuff for ourselves, but like we never really, you know, like swag. And I mean, we've been doing this for like Crimson Trails, like 5 years now, and then we just got swag, and you know, because we're just so super inundated with just trying to create good content and grow and tell stories. I mean, that's really all it is, just telling stories.
Oh, for sure.
Being unique about it.
What made you go with a Carbon TV over like a YouTube?
For me, I was doing YouTube. Our first 2 seasons were on YouTube. And I had approached Carbon TV early on, and I got kind of snubbed by them, which is fine. I mean, it was like Bill Winke's show. I mean, I thought I'd try to do that. Like I said, he was eons ahead of his time with that streaming, semi-live, stuff. Now look at us.
Right.
And so he would, I guess, be kind of the grandfather of all of that. And so, like, I got officially turned down from them. I'm gonna get better. And I tried Carbon TV, and I got kind of snubbed, but I didn't realize they were kind of in between, presidents and ownership or whatever. And this one day out of the blue, I had just like, I'm going to try one more time. It'd been about a year and a half, and I tried, and boom, Julie McQueen got right back with me, and in autumn, and set up a meeting with me, and like I had 2 seasons under my belt, and they're like, "We like your stuff, come on board," and I jumped on with them. And then at the end of season 3, they talked to me about being exclusive and just some of the benefits of that. And I was like, "Yep, we're not haven't put any of our stuff on YouTube since season 2, and so yeah, going exclusive is a win-win for us, and I love it because there's everything there, and it's just they've grown, they've made since Julie's taken over, she's just made that platform just amazing, and it just keeps getting better. It's not perfect. It's got some, growth stuff going on, but it's being run by some awesome ladies, and that's probably why it's so successful. No ego. There's no male egos involved in the hierarchy of Carbon TV, and I hate to be this way, but there's a lot of egos in the hunting industry, and especially when it comes to content creation and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
To go back on what you were talking about a second ago, not to backtrack by any means, but you were talking about, collaboration and everybody talking about, you giving pointers on editing and that sort of thing. I actually was paying attention too. And when I put my turkey video together from both my turkey videos from this past year, I was messing with saturation quite a bit, as you were pointing out, and I was like, man, that really does look a whole lot better. So I was paying attention, I promise.
Yeah, we had a lot of, so for just spilling it out there, we got together with you had already made a connection with.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about Turkey Camp. Me and Zach were. It was a TikTok comment, and it was when I first started doing this podcast, and we went back and forth. And I'm like, hey man, jump on the show. So we did a show, me, him, and Jake, and one thing led to another, and we were talking about turkey hunting and swapping hunts and collaborating and stuff. And I was like, man, they were talking about turkeys, all these turkeys, and I'm like, I'll trade you a deer hunt for a turkey hunt. And they're like, really? Yeah, let's do it. So that's what kicked that whole thing off. And then with you guys coming up there and joining, it was an unreal experience.
So 2020, I get everything mixed up in dates and stuff, but it wasn't this. It was the Louisville ATA. So 2 years ago, ATA was closed down for COVID, and then it reopened in Louisville, and it was kind of weird. And at that time, I had been a part of the Nexus Ambassador program, which is ScentLock and Blocker and Oz and whitewater fish and hardcore and all that. But primarily ScentLock for me is what drew me to that, because I'd been wearing ScentLock for years, and then I kind of got back into it again. And long story short, that year, that winter, I was getting ready to actually take over running the ambassador program for Nexus. And I was at ATA, and some guys had come into the booth, and they were like, hey, we're interested in, becoming pro staff, or they didn't, all the terms out there.
Right.
We call it ambassador program here at ours. And Steve, the marketing director, said, that's the guy you want to talk to. And I literally just walk in the booth. There's the guy. I turn around, and I got, I can see as plain as day. So there's Zach Salvel. There's who else was there?
Adam,
Zach Sloan, Adam Jones was there. Matt Spittler was there. So I'm already intimidated by Matt and Adam Jones, because they're just big dudes that they can, steamroll you, just one of them by themselves and both of them together. And I don't remember if anybody else was there. I think it was just those 5. And we started talking, and I'm a dude. I'm a people person, so I'm yakking. They're talking about it. And I said, give me a couple of months, give me a month, and here's my card. Get a hold of me, and we'll get you guys, roll you guys into our ambassador program. and they were talking about their footage, and I go, well, let me just see what you guys got. And they showed me one of their episodes on YouTube, and I'm like, I knew right away these guys got a knack for it. They're passionate about it, and they're trying to learn, and they already they were way further along than a lot of other people's stuff that I had seen that, walk up and say, I've got a YouTube show.
Right.
And I was like, and they're like, really? Like, and Sloan. So he was like, really? Like, you like this? And I'm like, I wouldn't say I liked it if I didn't. And I said, and obviously there's areas that you can grow in. And I said, look at my stuff and you'll say the same thing. And we just became instant friends. And then that fall, that was in January. In October, Matt Spittler had hired me to come up to Michigan and film his wedding. And we just had a ball. I mean, we just partied and just had a great time. And I said, you guys got to quit pulling me off and talking about deer hunting and stuff. I got a business. I mean, I've got to film his wedding. They actually literally hired me to film their wedding, not just to hang out and talk with you guys. But it was a great time. And then we started talking about that and coming up and doing a turkey hunt. And then lo and behold, you had already had this going on. And then we ended up in camp in May. And he's like, well, we got, he came down and hunted with you. And I'm like, well, where are you at? He's like, Knightstown. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, bro, that's my county. But I was busy. I'm busy in the fall like that with weddings. And I never got to hook up with him. But
so you should have just came over and hung out.
We just all showed up together. I mean, in turkey camp, they did the best. They did the best recollection of the whole thing. But I mean, we killed 7 birds. You killed 1.5-inch spur birds. Yeah. I killed a bird with 1.5-inch spurs. Antone killed a bird with 1.5-inch spurs. The Indiana boys went up there and we were just like, we killed 7 birds in 24 or 28-hour period, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was legit. I mean, like, it was like they were working for the birds. And I mean, it was just amazing. So I guess if you're listening, you can watch my version of it on Carbon TV from this season 6. And you can watch Blue River Bow Hunting's version of it. But I would say watch the Mid-State. I watched it again the other day. I
watch it all the time, man.
like they had 2 or 3 episodes of it, and so I would say that Zach capsulized it the whole weekend, the craziness of it, the best out of all of our versions. And I mean, like, Ron killed that first night. We just barely got into camp. I mean, I wiggled my way in. I was having truck issues, and we're out, and he kills a turkey right. He kicked it off. He kicked it off. He put the energy up there, way, way up there. He does everywhere he goes. Ron's energy level is legit. It's real. It's genuine. And then the next morning, you smashed that bird, and then that was it. And then Antone killed, and then it was just like,
it was like boom, 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 boom.
And then me and Jake Stevens doubled to end it all. And I wasn't even going to hunt. That whole weekend was me filming Antone kill a bird, and then I was just going to relax and hang out and get to know everybody a little bit better. And they were like, no, he shoots his bird. I'm like, you got to get a tag. You got to get a tag. We got to keep hunting. And I'd already seen all the birds I'd seen. I'm like, yeah, let's go to the store. Let's get a tag. So
it was so funny. You got us pretty good a couple times. I don't know how you did it the second time. We should have seen it coming a mile away. Yep. You're like, I'm buying a tag. The boy, he got one shot at it. It's my turn or what? I can't even remember exactly what you said. And I was thinking when you said it, I'm like, dang, man, that's kind of cold.
And you guys didn't know me that well. I had to keep it mostly from Ron, because Ron knew me well enough that he knew that I would never kill a turkey before one of my kids did. Right. I'm putting all the energy into filming it and making it happen, and he knew that. So I had to be real creative about how I told the story to Ron and to Adam, because Ron would have spilled the beans on it, and he was kind of like, but then he did. But I convinced him enough, that, we got a lot of turkeys, and he just wanted me to get a tag. But man, what a ball we had with that. And that's all about collaboration. That's what it is. Sure. And friendship. And, I can't wait till next spring.
And it's awesome, because I can still do the other trips that I normally do, because we didn't go up there until May, which in May in Indiana turkey hunting, it doesn't really play out that well.
No, and up in Michigan, it's really just getting good, especially up that part of Michigan. It's some of the best times right there. I had gone home to hunt in the area, because when I was growing up, turkeys weren't around up there. They were around, but I mean, you didn't really see them. And that population has exploded in Michigan. And I went home a couple times when I moved back to Indiana, and I was going back way too early. I was going there, and or late April, like in the early season, and it was like, man, these birds are still like flocked up, like
Yeah.
they're not responding to anything. And I can remember a farmer saying on one of the properties we were hunting, he goes, see those bushes over there, when they all bloom white, that's when you need to be here. And so we started coming up in May. And then when they gave me the dates, I was like, oh yeah, that'll be perfect. So this year we've already made a pact that there's going to be a few of us that are going to bow hunt, and we're also adding a little something. So I'll just throw it out here publicly now.
Yeah.
That as we do this, there's going to be some competitions. We're going to have a
Ooh,
traveling trophy.
I like it. I
some
like
competition and some points to be earned from the video perspective and
the
turkey and the turkey hunting perspective. So we're going to spice it up a little bit, and that annual turkey hunt there is going to be pretty crazy. So, and we're going to try to do a deer one in Indiana next winter. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That'd be pretty cool
It'll
too.
be good.
I'll try not to dive into the bush lights too early on Friday next time.
Every time we came back in the afternoon, Brent was
not every time.
He was pretty much laying in the camper sleeping. So I think we woke you up with a couple of those birds and dip some wattles on your forehead or something. But it was fun. It was. I mean, we just have a great time. And,
for sure.
And so yeah, and there's some guys that can give you a run for your money on the bush lattes and some other adult beverages. So
I slowed it up after the first night. I was just excited to be there, and it's fun to hang out with all them guys. I feel like I've known them for 30 years. They honestly are. I talk to Sloan we talk every day.
Yep.
We're like best friends from another, brothers from another mother.
That's what this industry should be all about. Is those friendships and those connections. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people in the outdoor industry. There's some core people that I have now, including this little group that we're talking about here, that will be my lifelong friends.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's companies and programs may have brought our paths across each other, but man, you spend any time around a campfire in the woods with brothers and sisters of the hunting world, it's so easy to connect and become lifelong friends. So. And nobody's got an ego. Everybody's just having a good time, growing, learning. Drop your. The filming is just a fun part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not why we do what we do. So,
right. Absolutely. Well, I know you've touched on it several times, but let's talk about it a little bit more. The ambassador program, how you got into your position, running everything. Let's just talk about the ambassador program.
Yeah. So I was approached by a previous lead that actually had started the program with ScentLock, and in like 2017 about coming over and being a part of the program he just started, mm-hmm. and me being the content guy that I was, it wasn't long into that program that they developed some positions there as leads and stuff of the program, and I was kind of over and actually John joined me, John Reese, as the content lead. And so it's unlike any other program out there. It's not your average pro staff or field staff, which I really hate those terms. And I actually hate the term influencer anymore. It's, just be you, but I covered a lot of the content, actually in between, some of the, just during COVID, really. The social media guy had kind of left to go do some other things. He was subcontracted. He wasn't like a full-time paid staff. And the marketing director at the time was like, man, I don't know what we're going to do. And I said, my wife is a teacher, but she's pretty good with social media. She's not a hunter. And he said, well, your peanut butter and that chocolate, let's do a Reese's cup here. And I was running the content, and it was COVID. Everything was just and she was teaching her, home. And so she started doing the social media for Blocker and Lock, those two Nexus companies, and which is what our ambassador program primarily consists of.
Yep.
And so that was a fun time. And then when she got back in the classroom, she was like, and she handed it back to Steve and said, you need somebody in house. And so that kind of went away. And in that time, the core lead at the time that was running the program stepped into some other things, and Nexus approached me and said, "Hey, you know the program pretty well. You do a pretty good job. You're a people person. Would you consider taking this over?" And it worked out good because at that time in my life, I was gaining a little bit of time because I was getting ready to early retire and go full fledged into my wedding business. So I had a little bit more time to engage into the program. So yeah, we've got close to 500 ambassadors across the United States and Canada that promote and wear as Nexus. You either come on as a scent lock or as a blocker, but I've got, I'm wearing a blocker shirt right now,
Right.
and I've got some blocker suits that I love to wear, and then I've primarily got my core scent lock is what I wear, but you're a blocker guy, but we got guys that go both ways. That's what we say.
I'm going to be going both
yeah,
ways to surprise you. I was going to surprise you there at the end of the show. I'm putting together a mid-season suit
Okay.
in scent lock. So
Yeah. You saw me because last spring, Blocker launched its finisher series for the turkey world, really kind of improving on that and making that a really good product line. And we introduced it at the NWTF and sold out of many of the products just at the NWTF last year. And that was pretty popular. And and I love the suit, but it went so fast I didn't even get my hands on anything but some of the really light tops. And I'm not that guy who everything is better in bottomland. No offense, and
right.
I probably just lost half of my southern audience right there. And to kind of prove that, I've kind of enjoyed the new Terra. It's exclusive pattern to Nexus, and it's the Terra Outland.
Yep.
Similar to the Terra Gala, but it's got a lot more greens and stuff. And I really like that pattern. So last year, because I didn't have the finisher series in completeness, I wore that and I wore it in an early season scent lock suit, and it worked out pretty good for me. I really grew to like that that pattern and a lot of the scent locks early season suits, just because they're comfortable and they're lightweight. So yeah. So we've got, the best of both worlds, in my opinion. We have a lot of camaraderie, and that's what I've injected into the program. A lot of is trying to build that camaraderie. We've had an annual turkey hunt down at an outfitter in Southern Indiana, Triple O. This coming year will be our 6th annual, which is hard to believe. So the first one, actually it'll be our 5th. The first one was actually the spring of 2020, and 24. Yep. So this will be our 5th one this year. And we have a great camaraderie, ambassadors coming in from all over the United States. And, we just get to know each other and we build that camaraderie and we just promote that, getting together and hanging out instead of just it all just being online. It's mostly online, but we like that when people hunt together and hang out and grow friendships. And we've got ambassadors that, travel a little bit and they come to each other and meet up and hang out in small groups. But we always get together at ATA or whoever's there with other companies or whatnot. NWTF is a big meeting time for all the ambassadors and other local shows and stuff. So I feel like our ambassador program does a lot of that. We love and we're passionate about blocker and scent lock. We've got the whitewater fishing gear now, and we've got hardcore waterfowl, but and we razz each other and the blocker versus scent lock and all that. But the reality of it is we just have a great camaraderie and we have a great team, and appreciate the freedom that Nexus gives us to be able to have the program and to just have that camaraderie and share these awesome products together. So
I really enjoyed the monthly monthly deals, kind of making us competitive, so to speak, putting content together with everything. I really enjoyed those.
And I kind of tend to lean towards the content side because it was my role for 2 years, and now coming up in January here, it'll be 2 years that I've actually been the core lead running the program, and I lean on that content, but we've got that's what we've got is we've got to share things on socials, but
Yeah.
to me that grassroots one-on-one, talking to your friends, talking to the people in your pro shop, and that's more convincing, that organic content, than just sharing sales posts and stuff. And
Oh, for sure.
beat a dead horse there, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
social media is a part of our lives. You TikTok, I don't TikTok.
Right.
So, I mean, there's our generational difference. You and Zach Sloan can TikTok all day long.
Well,
I just
you've
don't
talked
TikTok.
about it before through the ambassador program, how attention span of some of these people and the 30-second reels and all that sort of thing. When it comes to Blue River bow hunting, it was just another adventure down that rabbit hole where I wanted to bring attention. If you click on my TikTok account, you can go to my YouTube and podcasts and all that sort of thing. It was just another social media avenue that I went down, and I kind of enjoy it sometimes.
Good exposure. Yeah. I mean, like, it's a diversified, audience, and then, it's just like, I hate Facebook. If if I wasn't running this program for Nexus, the only things I would be on social media for was my wedding business, and maybe, Crimson Trail and a little bit of hunting, but it just gets weird sometimes out there in the social world.
Oh, for sure. I literally created a Facebook account to be a part of the ambassador program because I hadn't been on Facebook since like 2011 or something like that.
Well, it's good for you. It's funny, as I process applications, sometimes when I was doing it a couple of years ago, very rare to see somebody that would come on and we'd say, well, what are your social links? And to have somebody come on and say, that they didn't have Facebook. Now, I would say half the applications that come in, people don't have Facebook. So I think that's a sign of the future, and then we'll see what happens.
But. Trade shows. What trade shows do you have lined up for the 2024?
I am in the works of getting ready to get things squared away to be at ATA in January. I've only missed one ATA since 2009, and the first 5 or 6 years I was under the retail side with my local shop, and then Fourth Arrow got me. I was helping them out, especially in the Indy, with it being so close. Now it's in St. Louis. I was looking at the floor plan for that, and it's half the size. Hardly any of the major bow manufacturers there. It's a different show. I'm hoping they can, keep it afloat and keep things going. I'm okay with it being different, but it's hard to go to a trade show for archery equipment, and 5 of the 8, major bow companies aren't even anymore. So I think that kind of sends the wrong message. But whatever, we'll be there. I'll be there with Nexus and hanging out with Fourth Arrow and my buddies over at Deer Crossing Archery, which are going to be there for the first time this year.
That's cool.
Again, to me, it's just reconnecting with people in the industry and, collaborating again and hanging out and coming up with some cool ideas. But it's a lot of fun. If that, I'll be at the NWTF. I mean, that's more of a retail store show, but man, NWTF is where it's at. In my opinion, it is amazing fun. You don't get much sleep when you're at the NWTF because, you go from morning until 6:30, grab some dinner, and then you go out and hang out with friends until the wee hours in the morning. And you can only do 2 or 3 days of that, and woof.
Yeah, you're wore out.
I can't speak for sure, but I'm pretty sure Blocker's probably going to be there again with the Fisher Series, and they'll be helping out there. And then, of course, I make it to the Indiana Deer, Turkey, and Waterfowl.
Oh, yeah.
So, small show, state level show, but, it's fun to go walk through. And
oh, I love it there. This will be my second year working it with the Exact Archery company from Nebraska, some broadheads that I shoot. And last year was the first year I got to work with them, and I had a blast, man. It was a 4-day show. This year is only a 3-day show, but I'm looking forward to it. I met a lot of cool people, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Harrisburg before? That's a great.
I haven't. I've wanted to go to that one because that's like the biggest one, right?
I've only been once. I went in 2020. February, helping another company out there for a couple of days. It's a long show. It's 9 days, so
Mm-hmm.
it can be pretty exhausting.
Guaranteed.
Any trade shows, if you say trade show to me now, I cringe a little bit because it equals lots of work.
Yeah,
Um,
I bet.
and so, and lots of fun, so very little sleep. But yeah, that's a good show that is fun to get to, and I've always wanted to try to get back out there again. It's a big tail show, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, the NRA show is fun. So if you can get out to the Great American Sportsman Show, it's a good read too. So, but yeah, I mean, the trade show season just equals work for me. So
I
I
guarantee.
helped Fourth Arrow last year. I don't go to the Indiana show every year, so when they come, I try to go help them out. I talked to Zach over at Boontown Seeds about going over there and helping maybe sit in the booth, help them out a little bit. They make great seeds. I haven't used them yet, but I've seen the results. But I've bought a couple of EX off of Zach, so when he had Spartan e-bikes, so
That's one
he's
thing
a
I'd
good
like to
guy.
get,
Other
one of them
Indiana
e-bikes.
fellas. So. Yeah, I've got two, about to have my third one here probably by the end of the year, and they will change the way you do scouting and hunting. Some of the places that Anton and I get in and out of, like you would be stripped down to your boxers to try not to sweat get into them, and it just I just love the portability of and the quickness, the lack of scent that you leave.
Hmm.
It's changed our game, and I think I attribute a lot of the reasons, besides the fact that we wear scent lock and that we hunt the wind still too, and that we treat our clothes with ozone periodically throughout the hunting season. We manage that the best we can,
Hmm.
but adding to that, I guess you would say that arsenal of tools in the toolbox, e-bikes have really helped us. I mean, he saw deer the whole month of October. I think he only went to the stand once and he didn't see deer and have, even shot opportunities that he was passing up. So
Hmm.
um, I said, e-bikes help us get in, get out quick, you know, scent, even more scent free than walking in for 30 minutes, even 20 minutes, some of our sets,
Hmm.
leaving all kinds of scent. And I was like, in, out, done.
Yeah.
Checking cards in the summertime, same thing. In, out, you know. So not
Well,
right in or quiet. So
if you go to sell any of them other two, I want to be a first call on
all right.
that.
Yeah, you need to come over sometime and poke around on one, and you'll be sold. So yeah, they're great. We run the 20-inch tire ones because they're
Hmm.
I can put them in the back of my truck standing up, and I can just fold the handlebars down. Um, they're pretty portable too. So I mean, they're easier than you would think to operate. So
I would
yeah.
like it to have one for when we make our trip to Missouri. The particular property we hunt, public land, there's a big gravel road that runs directly down the center of this place, but you're not allowed to drive your truck. But
Hmm.
the DNR said you are allowed to take an e-bike. We
Hmm.
didn't see anybody doing that, but I could. There's some places I scouted on foot that took me a long time to get to on foot, and I imagine if I was on that bike, I wouldn't be sweating as much, and I
Yep.
would probably put me in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, you're not leaving a huge footprint. I mean, you can get in there and you can move about the properties pretty quickly. So yeah,
Yep.
definitely pretty cool. And they're becoming more and more affordable.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've bought both of my more expensive style bikes from Zach and when Austin was with him, and they had the Spartan e-bikes, which he's still going to keep going a little bit. But I mean, like they were at a price point. I was buying them either store or floor models or used. The only bike I bought brand new was a rad power bike, and they've been around for a long time, but they were just creeping into the industry where I could actually afford it,
Right.
and it was a wheel power base and not the center hub, but um, you know, 1,200 $1,300. It's still a lot of money to me,
Hmm.
but compared to the $4,000 and $6,000 you can dump on an e-bike, that it was attainable. And it's funny because my rad is a wheel um, power base, and not to get into all the details of all these bikes, but I've had zero issues with that bike at all. And so, and we've got our other bikes squared away now with some unique changes that we've made to them to help them to not. The biggest thing with some of those bikes is the derailleurs ripping off in, cornfields, cut cornfields and cut bean fields and stuff. But we've made some adjustments to them to help that to not happen anymore. But I mean, there's bikes out there now that are affordable. So, but,
well,
yeah,
I'll ask you one final question. What is your dream hunt? If you've already been on it, tell me about it. If not, let's hear it.
My dream hunt is I would always love to shoot an elk with a bow. And I know the years and years and years of practice and being in shape and everything that guys do to go out and make that happen. But my attainable one is black bear hunting. I love black bear hunting. So I have my dad's old recurve. He's been dead since 2020. And in 2018, my son Anton shot his first black bear wearing my dad's hunting boots. Made a short film about that. And keeping that on that trip home from Ontario, we talked about my dad's recurve. So I don't know if that thing could even take a string right now. So I brought it to an archery shop, Three Rivers Archery here in northern Indiana. Actually, they specialize in traditional archery. They looked at it. They're like, oh yeah, string it up, no cracks, nothing wrong with it. This is an antique bow. It's actually a Shakespeare bow. They don't make bows obviously anymore, recurves. Strung it up, 2020 hit, and I got kind of bogarted by the borders being closed for 3 years. So we're back on that. We went back up this fall, and that is my dream hunt. When I am working hard to shoot. I've shot a lot of black bears with my compound bow, and they're fun. It's a rush, but the recurve black bear hunt, successful black bear hunt, that will be my highlight of my hunting career. So, and I plan to take traditional archery a little bit further with deer hunting, maybe even turkey hunting, with traditional archery after that. But it'll be with a different bow. I'm going to retire my dad's bow after that happens. And that is it. Black bear with a recurve. So.
That's actually on my list as well. I would love, I almost actually had one planned out a couple of years ago to go to Virginia on a black bear hunt. Didn't happen. I think it was some of the same lines as you're talking about. 2020, a lot of stuff didn't happen. Yeah. But I think my number one still is shooting a big old bull moose, man. I don't know what gets me going about that, but I think it'd be a blast.
It's I filmed a moose hunt in Maine one time when I was up there, and that was the closest in the woods on their turf that I had been to moose. And I saw a lot of moose from the road up in Maine. That would be an attainable hunt. That would be a blast. So, yeah. That's a good hunt. I hope you can do it.
I hope so too. One of these days,
I'll get you on the black bear hunt. Come up with me.
Hey, I would be on that in a heartbeat, buddy. You have to give me
some
details.
I'll talk to you about later. I'll give you the details, but
for sure. Well, I appreciate you spending your evening with me and talking some hunting. You know, we didn't dive into some of this stuff, but that don't mean you can't hop back on here with me again one time.
We'll do it again. Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Thanks.
No problem, man. Throw some plugs out there, Crimson Trail and all that sort of stuff.
Yep. Well, exclusive Carbon TV. That's where we're at. If you go to Carbon TV, and Crimson Trail is right there. We're in the exclusives, or just search for us. Yep. We hope you enjoy it. I mean, we have a lot of fun. We get a lot of kids hunting, and we've got a lot of kids in our little team, our little family. And we love to collaborate. So
absolutely
get out there and do it. Have a good time. Watch us. We appreciate it.
Well, everybody, I appreciate you in podcast land. If you're still listening, if you're on the YouTube, thank you. Hit that like and subscribe button for us. And we'll be back here again next week for episode 69. See ya.